Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Cryptic Pages, and this is going to be my very first video showing my collection, authors that I like, mail hauls, trips to the store, thrift shops. So I decided on this first video that I'm going to show you one of my favorite publishers from the 80s, and one of the first books I ever bought as a teenager was a Stephen King book, and that was on the label publisher Signet books. And I just wanted to show you some covers that are my favorite, some of the artwork that I really like that I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to start with the very first one that I ever bought, and when I was a teenager that got me hooked. And there you go, there's Stephen King, The Stand. And this artwork with the blue in it, you're going to see that's a current theme with the Signet covers, and I'll get to some of those in a moment. But yeah, that I think is the original cover for the paperback that they put out. And again, that is, talking about Signet right there. That's the label publisher, Signet. So here's the next one that really got me hooked, and which was Night Shift. And I believe this is one of the first editions because it has a step back cover with that hand. And I remember that hand very well. This was one of the first paperback books I read of horror stories that were for adults. Until then, I'd only read books for teenagers and junior high school kids, elementary. And then when I got into like 16, 17 years old, I discovered this one. And I had to get this because of that book with this hand on it. And I still, to this day, some of these stories still stay in my mind, and I was hooked forever. So yeah, those are two Stephen King books, and there's a zoom in on that. Okay, so then now what I'm going to do next is show you some of the favorite art that I like from Signet, which has a different style to it. I believe they probably used the same artist for it, so we'll start with this one, which is The Night Walker by Thomas Tessier. And he's a British author. This was, I think, about a werewolf. From what I can remember, it's been a while since I read that one. It takes place in England. So yeah, there's that artwork I was telling you about. You're going to see more of that in a second here. So that's The Night Walker, Thomas Tessier. And this was from, I don't know the exact year, but I know it's early 80s. Okay, and here's the next one. There's that artwork I was telling you about. And that's The Voice of the Night by Brian Coffey, which is another name for Dean Koontz, which a lot of people know by now. He wrote this book. This was back early 80s also, I believe. So nice cover there with the bluish. Next one, I believe this one's been picked up again for publishing, again under another company that's putting it out. And that's The Tribe by Barry Wood. And that also has a nice step back with that bluish again. And there you go. Really nice. I like that. Close up of that. I have not yet read this one yet, but it is on my growing list. And that's The Tribe by Barry Wood. Okay. Next one, I'm not too much familiar with this author. Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough, Sins of Omission. But I love the artwork there. Or photography with that bluish tint. I believe this is some kind of dark paranormal thriller. I'm not sure if this is really considered horror. This one says chilling occult novel of unholy power and exquisite erotic passion. So there you go. And this was published in 1980. Another Signet artwork right there. There you go. Next one, which I did read, I really enjoyed this one, which is Surrogate by Nick Sharman. And you gotta just love that cover right there. With the doll, creepy man, the little boy in the front. Even praise from Stephen King right here for this book. This was actually a nice little thriller right here. Came out early 80s, to be exact. This was 1980. And that's Surrogate by Nick Sharman. He has a few other books I have not gotten to yet. But this one is definitely good if you like a nice little old school horror thriller. There you go, Surrogate. And here we go with another Dean Koontz book, The Door to December, Richard Page. There's that artwork again that I really like right there. Richard Page was another name that Dean Koontz used over the years. I've not gotten to this one yet. This was probably some type of medical thriller. I'm not sure if it actually is a medical thriller. There you go. Door to December. Next one. Dimitri by Jamie Cohen. Now that's a great cover right there. I really like that. So you see the trend with the Signet books with that bluish tint. I really like that artwork. This one is from, let's see, 1980 also. A lot of 1980 books. Actually, March of 81 to be exact. So there you go. Dimitri, Jamie Cohen. Looks to be very interesting. Can't wait to start that one. Now, the last of the blue ones. Here is The Jonah by James Herbert. One of my favorite covers of all time. Look at that. I have not read this one yet. I do have read some of his books. I did enjoy all of them, especially Others. I recommend Others very highly, and The Fog and The Dark. So that's The Jonah. I really found this one in really great shape. It's your Signet, The Jonah by James Herbert. Now I'm going to cover a few more other books of Signet from my collection. These are going to be some James Herbert's books I'm going to share with you. And I just love the artwork on these. This is The Spear. I've not read this one yet. It will be coming soon. Great artwork right there. Signet had some of my best covers that I liked. There you go. The Spear. And next, another James Herbert. This is Lair. I believe this was part 2 for the Rats trilogy. The first one was Rats, then Lair, and then Domain. I did read Rats and Lair, but it was many years ago. I don't remember much about it other than they were pretty fast reads, gory. They have a lot of praise. A lot of fans do like them. And that's some great artwork right there with the two-headed rat. You can see that. There you go. Lair by James Herbert. Okay. How can you say no to that? The Survivor by James Herbert. That doll's head right there. I remember seeing that as a teenager and I had to grab that book. I mean, how can you pass up on that? I believe this was the original printing, the US printing, when this came out, early 80s, with the doll's head. This was about a survivor from a plane crash. That's all I remember about it. I definitely need to get into this one again. So that's The Survivor. James Herbert. Great cover right there. Another good James Herbert book, which I read about 2 years ago, which was The Dark. You can't say it might be similar to The Fog, but it's completely different story going on and the origins of what happens and where it comes from. But, I mean, come on, look at that. That is some great artwork right there. James Herbert, I recommend this book. It's violent, scary, some good suspense. It's got a surprise ending, some good writing. It's a very 80s book. Very retro horror right there. Okay, so a few more here from my Signet collection. This is Death Tour by David J. Michael. It's been years since I've read this one. I really can't tell you much about it other than I believe it's a group of people that go through the sewers on some type of tour. I'm not sure why they're going under there, but then they encounter some kind of creatures, alligators. That's basically all I remember about it. So that's Death Tour. It's David J. Michael, early 80s, paperback. Another Nick Sharman, who wrote The Surrogate. This is Judgment Day. And that is some amazing artwork right there. That is just great. I've not read it yet. On my list. Signet, Judgment Day by Nick Sharman. Great cover. Okay, just a couple more. And this is The Intruder by Brooke Lemus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lemus. Not sure exactly what this is about. Probably some kind of paranormal thriller. Maybe a little bit of horror. But, I mean, amazing artwork right there. That's just great. Intruder, Brooke Weymouth. There you go again. And finally, my last Signet one. Dying Light by Evan Chandler. Never heard of this author, but very catching. That cover, I had to get that. It's wonderful little artwork right there. Probably has to do with fire, I'm sure. Psychosis, special powers, supernatural powers, dealing with fire. So that's my final signet from this collection. There you go, Dying Light. And Chandler, there's your back. So that's going to do it for my signet collection. There's going to be a lot more videos coming up from my collection, so stay tuned. I hope you like this video. I encourage any feedback, comments. If you read any of these books, let me know. Put it in the comments. I'll put some links down below for some of these books if you're interested. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again on Cryptic Pages. Later.